You've been there, haven't you? That gut-wrenching feeling when your good intentions get you walked all over, when your boundless availability makes you invisible, when your attempts at niceness are met with contempt, not adoration. You're losing respect, aren't you? Watching as she manipulates your emotions, as your power simply drains away. Good, because what I'm about to reveal isn't for the faint of heart. This isn't about being charming or understanding. This is about cold, hard truth, drawn from the very playbook of power. Forget everything you think you know about being a good man in relationships. Your kindness, your transparency, your constant presence. These are not virtues. They are tactical blunders in the game of emotional chess. Today, we're unleashing the brutal masculine strategy inspired by Machiavelli himself. The absolute necessity to impose respect. This isn't a suggestion. It's a survival guide for the modern man caught in the crosshairs of female behavior. If you're not ready to confront uncomfortable truths, if you'd rather remain a pawn in her mental game, then click away now. But if you're done being manipulated, done watching your high-value potential squandered, then lean in. This is how you reclaim control. This is how you win back your power, your boundless generosity, eager transparency. These aren't virtues, they're tactical blunders. Offer too much, too soon, and you dismantle your value. She sees you as an emotional ATM, a resource to exploit. This isn't malice, it's human nature. Machiavelli understood power abhors a vacuum. Fail to assert yours, and someone else claims it. At your expense, your goodness becomes her weapon. Constant availability screams desperation, eroding mystique, and the challenge that sparks attraction. She won't value attention she doesn't fight for. This is the brutal mental game. No boundaries, no strategic absence, just a doormat. A high-value man knows his presence is a privilege. He masters emotional control, choosing expression to prevent manipulation. This masculine strategy isn't cruel. It's self-preservation commanding respect. True power isn't concessions, but disciplined influence. This redefines the emotional chessboard. But how do you implement this Machiavellian mindset without aggression? How do you command respect without coldness? The next step, the critical art of calculated detachment. Calculated detachment is not apathy. It's emotional control as a sophisticated psychological weapon. This isn't coldness, but a precise masculine strategy, deliberately withholding your full emotional bandwidth until it's genuinely earned. Your emotional availability becomes a strategic resource, not a default setting. The moment you're eager, you lose the mental game. A high-value man understands power lies in his unswayed composure, refusing to be pulled into reactive spirals. This discipline commands respect. As Machiavelli understood, predictable openness makes you vulnerable to manipulation. When your emotional responses are a guarded asset, you establish boundaries that scream self-respect. She learns your attention is a reward, not a right. This isn't about playing games. It's setting the terms of engagement, subtly communicating your high value without a word. It forces her to invest, to earn your validation. This shifts the power dynamic from you chasing her approval to her seeking yours. This deliberate non-reaction, this unshakable inner core, is the bedrock against manipulation. It's how you implement Machiavelli's principle of being feared, respected for your boundaries and value without aggression. It's about building an unshakable fortress of self. But how do you prevent this powerful detachment from morphing into indifference, pushing her away completely instead of drawing her closer? The next level is mastering calibrated engagement. Calibrated engagement is the answer to the paradox of detachment. It's not about becoming an emotional desert, it's about selectively watering the fertile ground. This is where you leverage the power of scarcity. When your attention is a rare commodity, it becomes infinitely more valuable. A high-value man doesn't just avoid manipulation. He subtly influences the perception of his worth. This is the sophisticated mental game. You've established boundaries. Now you use your focused presence to reinforce them. It's emotional control applied not just to your reactions, but to your proactive gestures. Think of it as Machiavelli's precision in diplomacy. You don't declare war or peace indiscriminately. You choose your moments, your words, your investments. When you do engage, your presence is full, potent, and memorable, creating a stark contrast to your strategic absence. This isn't random. It's a deliberate masculine strategy designed to elevate your perceived value. She experienced your boundaries. Now she experiences the quality of your rare engagement. This builds respect far more effectively than constant validation ever could. It teaches her that your time, your energy, your presence are earned, not expected. This subtle push and pull dynamic, this dance of availability and calibrated withdrawal, fundamentally rewires the interaction. It compels investment. But what happens when she doesn't respond to this refined strategy? When she fails to invest, or worse, pushes back against these new terms? How do you distinguish between genuine challenge and a fundamental mismatch in values? Her failure to invest or her pushback isn't a signal for you to abandon your masculine strategy. On the contrary, it's the crucible where true character is forged and revealed. A high-value man doesn't panic. This isn't a setback. It's a diagnostic, a critical juncture in the mental game. Your emotional control here is paramount. When she resists your new terms, your strategic absence becomes a powerful mirror, reflecting her true intentions and her capacity for respect. Is her pushback a test of your resolve, a genuine confusion, or an attempt at manipulation? Machiavelli teaches us to observe not just stated intentions, but demonstrated actions, especially under duress. If her response is dismissive, entitled, or an attempt to re-establish the old dynamic through emotional pressure, then you have your answer, a fundamental mismatch in values. She doesn't just object to your boundaries, she objects to your autonomy, your evolving sense of power. Your response isn't to chase or to explain, it's to reinforce the silence. Let the space you've created echo with her own unmet expectations. This isn't vindictive, it's profoundly strategic. It forces her to confront the reality of your new calibration, and crucially, it allows you to discern if she is capable of valuing a man who defines his own terms. But what if her reaction is subtly different, a quiet retreat instead of outright resistance? This too is a critical phase in the mental game. A high-value man doesn't interpret her silence as an invitation to re-engage on old terms. On the contrary, your masculine strategy here is to maintain the integrity of your new calibration. Your emotional control is paramount. You resist the urge to fill the void, to chase explanations, or to offer reassurance. This quiet withdrawal is an acid test for her capacity for respect. Does she use this space to reflect, to genuinely consider the value of what she might lose? Or is it a veiled form of manipulation, a passive attempt to draw you back into her orbit through feigned indifference? Machiavelli understood that true power is not granted, but asserted and maintained. Your presence is a luxury, a resource not to be squandered. When she retreats, you don't pursue. Instead, you double down on your own purpose, your mission, your growth, your time, your energy, your attention. These are precious commodities, only invested where they are earned. This isn't about vindictiveness, it's about reinforcing your worth. It teaches her, implicitly, that your availability is tied to her demonstrated investment and respect for your autonomy. This strategic absence forces her to confront the reality of your new rules, compelling her to either elevate her own game or fade from your landscape. But what if she does return? How do you discern sincerity from another layer of complex manipulation? When she returns, perhaps with an olive branch, a seemingly heartfelt apology, or even a display of vulnerability, this is not the finish line. It's merely the opening move of a new chapter in the mental game. Your masculine strategy here must be one of vigilant observation, devoid of immediate emotional reaction. A high-value man understands that manipulation often disguises itself as remorse. This is where your emotional control becomes your greatest asset. You do not rush to embrace, to forgive, or to immediately re-establish the prior level of intimacy. Machiavelli's principles of discerning true intent are paramount. Observe her actions, not just her words. The true test of her sincerity lies not in what she says, but in her demonstrated willingness to honor the new boundaries you've established. Does she proactively respect your time, your space, your non-negotiables, even when it's inconvenient for her? Does she demonstrate a genuine understanding of where she crossed the line, not just intellectually but behaviorally? This isn't about her groveling. It's about her recognizing and adapting to your reasserted power in the terms of your respect. Any attempt to subtly reintroduce old patterns of disrespect, to test the new limits, or to revert to manipulation immediately signals that her return is merely another strategic maneuver, an attempt to regain control. You must remain dispassionate, observing her consistent behavior over time. A momentary concession is not a genuine shift. True respect is earned through consistent adherence to the new framework. This discerning process weeds out superficial reconciliation from a fundamental recalibration of the dynamic. But what if she consistently demonstrates this newfound respect? How do you then navigate the path forward without falling back into old traps? And how do you continue to cultivate that profound respect rather than allowing it to erode into mere affection? The cultivation of profound respect, rather than its erosion into mere affection, hinges entirely on your unwavering self-mastery and profound presence. When she consistently demonstrates respect, the battlefield shifts from overt boundary setting to the more nuanced, constant vigilance of the mental game. This isn't about maintaining a defensive posture. It's about projecting an unshakable inner state. Your emotional control becomes your most potent weapon, a silent, powerful declaration that you are not easily swayed, that your value isn't contingent on her validation or her presence. A high-value man understands that his masculine strategy isn't just about initial confrontation, but about the consistent, calm application of his frame. To prevent respect from dissolving into a complacent affection that breeds future disrespect, you must continue to embody the authority that commanded her attention in the first place. This means maintaining your standards, your routines, your purpose, even as the relationship seemingly redespises any perceived wavering in your resolve, any hint of neediness, or a regression to prioritizing her comfort over your principled existence. will be immediately registered. She's watching for signs that the man who commanded respect is still present, or if he's softened back into a less formidable version of himself. This isn't Machiavellian manipulation on your part, but a fundamental understanding of human dynamics. Power is maintained not just by acquiring it, but by consistently demonstrating the self-possession that underpins it. Your presence, your grounded energy, your unhurried confidence, speaks volumes more than any words or demands. It's an energetic anchor that holds the dynamic in place. But what happens when the very foundations of your personal conviction are challenged, not externally, but from within? The internal battle is often the fiercest one. It's the residue of old patterns, the whispers of insecurity that tempt you to revert to the man you were before you decided to build your empire of self. This is where the true reconstruction begins. You've grown weary of being used, of feeling your boundaries erode under the subtle pressure of others' expectations or your own desire to please. This feeling of self-betrayal is the fire that forges your new resolve. Your primary directive becomes, never again betray yourself. This isn't about rigid rules, but about an unwavering commitment to your own truth, your purpose, and your chosen masculine strategy. This deep internal commitment is the ultimate mental game. It requires relentless emotional control, not just in the face of external pressures, but against the insidious pull of your own comfort zones and past conditioning. You must become your own most vigilant guardian, observing your thoughts, recognizing the moments when you are tempted to compromise your integrity for fleeting external validation. The high-value man understands that true power emanates from this self-mastery. It's not manipulation of others, but a profound self-governance that naturally commands respect. When you live with unwavering integrity, your actions become a testament to your unshakable core, broadcasting a signal that you are not for sale, that your boundaries are non-negotiable. This intrinsic strength, this refusal to abandon your own principles, is what prevents you from ever being used again. It's the silent, continuous affirmation of your worth, a declaration that you are fully present within your own frame. But how do you ensure that this newfound integrity isn't merely a temporary shield, but a permanent part of your being, especially when the allure of old comforts calls? That question, the one about permanence, leads us directly to understanding the potent, often underestimated, art of strategic silence. This isn't about being sullen or withdrawn. It's a deliberate act of choosing when and how to engage, creating a profound scarcity that elevates your presence. Think of it as psychological warfare, an emotional chess move. The man who can master his silence controls the narrative. He denies others the constant access they crave, forcing them to lean in, to wonder, to earn his attention. This is a subtle yet immense form of power. It's a core component of your masculine strategy, proving that your validation is not freely given, that your emotional control is absolute. Machiavelli understood that the wise prince isn't always demonstrative. Sometimes, the greatest influence comes from absence, from the calculated pause. When you employ silence, you're not manipulating for selfish gain, but rather setting a higher standard for interaction, demanding respect through your very self-possession. It's a powerful mental game, a quiet assertion of your frame. The high-value man knows his words are currency, and he doesn't devalue them through incessant chatter. He allows his actions, and the deliberate restraint of his reactions, to speak volumes. This isn't manipulation in the negative sense, but the masterful deployment of influence. It creates anticipation, makes your presence more significant, and it allows others to truly appreciate the moments when you do choose to speak. This strategic withholding cultivates a deep intrinsic respect that no amount of loud declarations ever could. But what happens when you must speak, when silence is no longer an option, and you need your words to land with the same gravitas? When you break your silence, your words become surgical instruments, each one chosen with the precision of a master craftsman. The power then isn't in volume, but in velocity and impact. Every syllable you articulate must carry the weight of the deliberate absence that preceded it, making your communication a high-view exchange, not a casual disbursement of energy. This is the ultimate test of your emotional control, to speak, not from impulse or insecurity, but from a place of calm, calculated intent. The high-value man understands that his voice, once unchained, must resonate with unwavering conviction. He engages in the mental game not by shouting, but by speaking with such clarity and purpose that his message cuts through the noise. This isn't manipulation in its crude form, but the sophisticated masculine strategy of leveraging attention, ensuring your words land with absolute gravitas and command immediate respect. Machiavelli knew that a prince's decrees were potent because they were rare and decisive, not because they were numerous. Your words, like a strategic resource, must be deployed only where they yield the highest return, fortifying your position and reinforcing your frame. This deliberate act of choosing when and how to articulate your thoughts transforms mere conversation into a profound assertion of your will. But the energy you project isn't solely confined to what you articulate. It also dictates. Now, reflecting on the mental game of influence, How often have you seen men lose power because they lacked the emotional control to deploy a subtle masculine strategy? Or were you ever so subtly influenced that you didn't even recognize the manipulation until it was too late to command respect? Share your insights and experiences below. If you're serious about mastering the profound insights that would make even Machiavelli nod, truly becoming a high-value man, then subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. This is where you'll discover the unspoken rules and the masculine strategies most men never uncover. For your next step towards unwavering power, click the video on your screen now. Until next time, stay sharp.